Hi, and welcome to Talking Tech, where we discuss the latest trends in the technology, media, and telco sectors, as well as our latest research. Today we'll be talking to Chris Richardson, CEO of Linius Technologies. Welcome, Chris.
Hi, Mark. Thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
Chris, in a nutshell, can you explain what Linius does for viewers that are not too familiar with the company?
Sure. I think there's a pretty clear understanding of the trends that are happening with technology in the world today. The internet's been driving this for a while, where everything is moving towards a smaller sliced, more personal approach to literally everything. So it's smaller clips of video, it's smaller memes in your Facebook feed, it's bite-sized content that you can ingest and get exactly what you want to be getting. And while there is a movement towards generating sort of these little snippet videos in Snapchat or Twitter or whatever, the reality is that 80% of the traffic on the internet today is video. And a lot of that is this giant, blocky, cumbersome, long-form content that there's just no good way to access and divide and reach into the middle of to get the real critical information that you need. What our technology does is it takes the existing video on the internet exactly where it is without any change in standards or protocols or anything like that required, completely 100% standards compliant with the modern internet technologies, but makes it so that instead of treating video as these giant, cumbersome files that are an entity unto themselves, we actually start treating the internals of the files just like a database, which lets us do all sorts of things with video across really every application that there exists on the internet. And there's a bunch of opportunity for us to truly and deeply transform a bunch of markets.
Right. So today you just announced the launch of Linius commercialization plan. Can you walk us through the highlights of that plan?
Yeah, absolutely. So as I just said, we can really transform any aspect of video, and that there are many, many, many industries that we could have an impact on. So what we've spent the last several months doing in depth here in our internal discussions and through the research we've done over the previous year is figuring out where are the biggest and most exciting opportunities for us in the short term. And to that end, we've decided on 4 markets that we want to target. And because they're each very distinct, very large, tens of billions of dollars industries, we're putting in a commercial head to build a department, a division, to go and tackle each one. And those 4 divisions are going to be tackling personalized advertising, which is really bringing the sort of internet advertising that you're used to seeing in Facebook, for example, where our ads are directly targeted to you, into the world of video, and in particular, into the world of broadcast video on cable TV. The second division is around content security and piracy. Particularly here in Australia, piracy is a very well understood problem and a big concern for the studios, for companies like our partner, Village Roadshow. And globally, it is a tremendous opportunity. There's $68 billion a year in box office revenues. And depending on the numbers you look at, anywhere from 15 to as high as 40% of that revenue is lost to piracy. And because of our unique technology and because of treating each individual play of a video as a separate piece of data, we can have a tremendous impact across piracy everywhere in the world in every aspect of its delivery. The third area is another form of security, one that we're sadly becoming all too familiar with in this world, which is video security in the physical world, looking at threat assessment. And the world of speed cameras here in Melbourne, or city cameras where you have a camera for every 14 people in London, or military applications where you're looking through cameras on drones. There are a lot of opportunities for us to dramatically improve the speed of access to data in the videos, so that instead of being reactive to events and chasing somebody after the fact, there's the opportunity to become proactive and get in front of things and stop them before they happen. And then last but not least is the behemoth of the internet, search. You look at companies like Google and Bing and the dozens or maybe even hundreds of niche search engines out there. They're all able to provide great search results in text, but when it comes to video, all they can provide you with is an entire video. And that entire video may be 5 minutes or 15 minutes or 2 hours when all you need is 30 seconds to get the answer you want out of the middle of it. And that's exactly the sort of solution we can provide to search providers around the world. So those 4 are our initial targets.
Right, and if you look at those 4 markets in terms of market size, well, you talked a little bit about that already. Where would you see the largest opportunity, and so what sort of time frame you think Linius would be able to address those markets and generate revenues from that?
The arrival of revenue is always a key question in investors' minds, and of course, it's a little bit up in the air for us. Right now, we have already begun the search for these 4 divisional heads, and so to some extent, there's going to be a difference depending on what time each head comes on board. But that said, we're not waiting. The team internally, including myself, as well as our existing partners, are already on the ground working towards commercial activities across all 4 of these markets today.
Right, and sort of expanding your sort of footprint in terms of CEOs for each of these units. Looking at sort of your financial runway, what sort of impact is there, if at all, in terms of your financial runway, say in the next 12 to 18 months?
Well, of course, anytime you add headcount ahead of revenue, it has some impact on your financial runway. That said, we are fully budgeted for over the course of the year with all these hires and the associated expenses, the on-costs, the travel, et cetera, to make these programs work, even assuming we didn't get any revenue, which we're not necessarily assuming.
Right.
So given that we just closed out calendar year 2016, sitting on $2.8 million in the bank, we've had a very low run rate historically. We're in a great position, we think.
Okay, and so you also just announced the appointment of Taylor Rafferty, probably focusing on the US, I guess, and Europe in terms of getting new investors on board?
Yeah, Taylor Rafferty is a great firm. They're a globally recognized investor relations firm. They are in the US and Europe actively. They're managing IR for us on a global basis, including here in Australia. Mm-hmm. But the focus really will be on the US primarily, and then Europe secondarily after that. We're very pleased to have them on board and looking forward to tremendous results from them, both in terms of getting international investors to come and buy on the markets here, but also getting us more international exposure, international coverage in the press and through analysts, because those really are our giant market opportunities.
Right, right. And so looking a bit longer term at sort of Linius's future in terms of where it might be listed at some point, what do you think the natural home for a high-tech stock like Linius is, given sort of the current technology base in Australia in terms of listed companies?
Yeah, I mean, look, these things change really much more quickly than one would like. We came to Australia and listed on the Australian Exchange because it was a great place for small tech companies, and that remains true today. And we're very pleased with our investor base here. We've had great support both from the broker and investor community as well as from individuals. And so right now we're very, very happy with Australia. I mean, certainly there are larger exchanges with larger volume around the world, and looking at something like NASDAQ or something in Europe in the very long term could happen. But as we look at the rate at which things change in the world and perceptions around where things are hot and where things are not hot, this is not really something we're considering at all today. Today, we're happy where we are.
Okay. Well, by the sounds of it, Linius is entering a very exciting time. Thanks for coming over and explaining sort of what you're going through. And we'll keep following the stock quite closely.
Great. I always appreciate it. Thanks, Mark.
Yeah, thank you. To find out more about TMT Analytics, please go to our website for our latest research and video updates.